Yeah, we are laying up to stuff. Yeah.
Hey guys, this is Backdraft and welcome back to the Create Above and Beyond mod pack. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you love the Create mod, Minecraft automation, and redstone engineering, then this is the series in the channel for you. So be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you never miss when another video comes out. If you missed the previous episodes, then the playlist for this series is linked down in the description. I highly recommend that you go watch them to get all caught up. But last episode, we finally got our kinetic mechanisms and andesite machines automated with this crazy looking belt spaghetti and cog spaghetti contraption right down here. This thing has actually been cranking out pretty well, and we already have almost 18 stacks of kinetic mechanisms, which is super awesome. So right now the bottleneck is still clay. Bottleneck meaning it's the one thing that is the slowest to produce, which is holding back the rest of the system from going faster. Right now it's okay, it's not the worst. I was able to speed it up a little bit. I did add 3 more strainers, and I had a comment from a viewer by the name of Jason Turner. Jason, thank you so much for this tip. Apparently if you put water around the 4 blocks surrounding the strainers, they actually produce a little bit faster. I think I can tell a little bit of a difference, so that was an awesome tip. Thank you so much, Jason. Another thing I noticed is I actually converted the one farm to just use jungle saplings, and none of them are actually growing. And I think the problem is we have some 2x2s, and I think it's trying to grow 2x2 trees, but with the machine getting in the way, I don't think it is able to. So we're gonna have to change this around. We're probably gonna have to remove the middle row right here and probably just fill it in with wood so that we can't grow anything there, and the wood will get back to growing. I mean, we have tons of wood over there right now. All this is getting fed over to create kinetic mechanisms, so this isn't an issue right now, but we probably will be fixing that by the end of this episode. So the plans for this episode: we have unlocked the second tier of automation on our way to automating the brass machines. I think we might make some progress on this tree today. We've already got the iron going, but I think we'll have to get a tinker's smeltery going, which will be really cool. We might get into that in this episode, but the next thing I want to get into is I actually want to get into these professions and see if we can start automating some things so we can make some silver. And I think what we can do is I think we're going to pick the farmer profession. We have to get 30 silver to start that, but I think then we can actually automate crops. Now right now we're actually missing potato, tomato, and cabbage. If we can find those, then I think we can definitely be on our way to creating or generating tons and tons of silver, because there's a few things that I wanted to get. I wanted to get the infinite saw, the unbreakable saw, so that we can get the kinetic mechanisms going and not have to worry about replenishing the saws. And I wanted to see if we could get a few other things as well. I mean, we can get like the applied energistics chests for 2 gold. We can get bedrock for 32 gold. We can get food. There's all kinds of stuff we can do if we can get our hands on some silver. So I think we're going to take a little bit of a 180, and we're going to see if we can start automating some crops and expanding out the area around us. We'll see if we can get some tools going too, if we can get the tinker's smeltery up and running. So changing up the goals in the book, we have everything on this list done already: the clay farm, the andesite farm, the rubber farm, the slab farm, and the kinetic mechanisms. So here are the rest of the plans. So we want to get crops for silver. I'll just put farming profession in here. I want to start messing around with that. So it's profession. I can't spell right now. We want to get the tinker's smeltery up and running. Then the next thing, I also want to get the gold farm up and running. So for that, we can actually crush down all of the granite that we're getting from our stone farm and probably manually feed it into this as well. Or we can just set up a belt. I don't know what we're going to do. And then after that, I just want to put another thing in here and say progress towards brass. So yeah, and then 5, this isn't in any particular order, but then start clearing out surrounding area so we can start making way for our base. We're actually going to be building a nice base of operations. This is kind of just like this is where we're probably going to eventually launch the rocket from. This might be repurposed by the time you finish the series, but that was the plan. This is going to be the launch pad Once we get the rocket going, this is where we're going to launch from. It's going to be super, super awesome. The first thing we're going to do is I want to see if we can get our hands on those crops and then turn on the farming profession, see if we can get some silver. So to get those crops, essentially, I think we're just going to have to do some exploration, maybe find a village, see if we can find some of them in the wild. But yeah, I think it's time to set out on an adventure. So I'm going to gather up some gear and we're going to start exploring. Alrighty, so we're about 700 blocks west of home right now. This is where we are, and there is home. And we actually found a supplementary signpost. So these are actually really awesome in that they show you which direction and how many blocks away a village is. And if we can find a village, we might be able to find the crops that we need. So I think we're going to follow one of these signs, probably that one. We'll go off in that direction, says it's about 400 blocks. So we'll throw the boat down and get to rowing and see what we can find. Okay, so we're about 1,000 blocks away from my house, and we found this absolutely massive village. And believe it or not, this loot chest right over here had everything that we needed. Tomato seeds, cabbage seeds, and potatoes. That was all we needed to get our crop selling up and running. There is a ton of loot in this village. I can't believe how much there is. So this is what we got so far. We got the tomato seeds, we got some spruce saplings, cabbage seeds, potatoes, melons, emeralds, and a rubber duck. So rubber ducks are actually really, really useful in this mod pack in making the eternal stellas, which is what are used to make things like the saw. And I think if you take, actually, you just right click it, it's useful to make certain like end game items and making other items indestructible. So for example, here's a Certus Course axe. If you combine it with this, you have an indestructible axe. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do with the rubber duck. Well, with the byproduct of the rubber duck. But our inventory is pretty full right now. I'm gonna look around just a little bit more. We can always come back here and finish looting up a little later. So that was quite the successful adventure. Here is all of the loot that we ended up with. We got some spruce saplings, which was pretty cool, peonies, rubber ducks, which are gonna come in handy way later. But we did get the onions, we got the tomato seeds, and we got the cabbage seeds and the potatoes. So we should be good on the crops. We also got melons, we got pumpkins, we got some rice, we got berries, and we also got buddy card packs. So I haven't mentioned this before, but we were actually collecting up these things called buddy cards. This is a mod in the mod pack. I think it's actually just called buddy cards. So there are tons and tons of cards and sets that you can collect. And I think if you can collect up sets, then you get rewards. And these buddy card packs, actually you can right click them to open them up and you'll get a bunch of buddy cards. You can also make, like, I think they're like stands, yeah, buddy card displays, so you can display all the sets that you have and keep track of them. Yeah, it's actually just a cool little addition. I think we're gonna open all of these up and maybe we'll make a display just to show all the buddy cards and the sets that we've accumulated. But either way, we got the crops that we need. I think we're gonna go and see if we can start racking in the silver and activate that farmer profession and see where that takes us. And hopefully we can get some farming industry set up and start raking in the silver. So I just spent way too long reading up on the buddy cards mod, and there is so much stuff in this mod. So there's things like buddy steel, which armor that you can make. You can make buddy steel tools. Then there's perfect buddy steel, which is way more rare that you need to find. And then there's like 200 to 300 different cards. There's just so much. So the buddy steel gear that you can get, sorry if I'm losing you guys, but essentially if you make the armor, the more buddy steel cards that you collect, the stronger the armor can become. So if you nearly find all of the cards in all of the sets, then your gear is even more powerful than netherite. It starts off with chainmail and it goes up from there. I don't know if it's unbreakable. I don't think it is unbreakable. I'll have to take a look. But anyway, we're going to be keeping our eyes out for all of the buddy cards. I opened up all those packs and these are all of the cards that we found. It looks like we actually found a rare one. So the ones with the purple and yellow corners are the rarest. And then I think there's the blue, which is like the second rarest, and then the yellow, which is, so I think it's epic, rare, uncommon, and common. The common don't have anything in the corners. But yeah, I think we're gonna make some stands and stuff once we get an actual base up and running. I we're probably gonna lose a lot of hours of our life to this mod. Okay, so I just finished growing some crops. We got some tomatoes, we had some cabbages, but I just actually surrendered them. So I submitted the crop collection quest here and got 25 silver. So now we're actually up to 38 silver, which is pretty cool. And then that means we have enough now to purchase the farmer profession. So I think I'm gonna go with that. There's a ton of different professions in here. Farmer, carpenter, you can sell wood logs. Miner, you can sell anything that you mine. Hunters, hunting monster loot. Chef is cooking. Fisherman obviously is fishing. Mason is building blocks, which is pretty cool. And then blacksmith is tools and armor. So the two that I was considering are, and I think you can switch at any time, or maybe I have multiple professions. I can't even remember. But the two that I was considering are carpenter and farmer. But I actually think we're going to start off with farmer. So let me go ahead and pay the 30 silver. And then I think we actually got the profession farming. So I think we have to go and create a trade station now, I think is what we have to do. It looks like we can actually do any of, or multiple professions. I don't think it matters. So if I go to shipments and I get the trading station, so it's 30 silver for the trading station. So maybe we'll see if we can do a couple other ones. And we do need redstone flux for the trading station. What is it to build one of these? What do we need to make one? We actually need a brass machine, so we could do that, or I could just get 22 more silver. I can figure out a way to do that and then buy it over here. And then I think what we do is we put this card into the trade station, and then we can sell all kinds of crops in it. So I think it's time to mess around with that a little bit. So let me see if we can get the 30 silver first. Okay, so I was able to sell some of the minerals that we mined, and now we have enough. We can go back into the shipments here, click on factory shipping, surrender the 30 silver, and there we go. Now we have a trade station, a sterling dynamo, and we could keep doing that actually to get more and more of them. So here we have the trade station. Now, like I said, this does require redstone flux power, but it did give us a sterling dynamo, and this can produce redstone flux through combustible items like wood and coal and all that. So we could technically build a secondary wood farm, or maybe feed some of the wood from this farm, because this produces way more wood than that's needed for over here, and feed in the power that way. So, and then we actually need, where's my card? Here it is. We can throw this in here, the farming profession, and then for example, if I show you guys with this card, so keeping that in there, then we can start selling all of this stuff for profit. So we can farm up tomatoes. We do have to compact it down into crates. So we have tomatoes, potatoes, greens, beans, potatoes, tomatoes. And we have everything else, wheat, carrots, onions. We can sell all of that. So I think the plan is we're going to set up the starts of our crop industry and just make a ton of different farms, automate all of this, and just rake in the silver. And then we can use that silver to buy all kinds of stuff. So for example, we can buy diamonds for 10, well, actually, that is, we get the diamond import for 10 silver. So if I show you the import, it's then 2 gold for a diamond. So we can really start raking everything in. We won't have to do much mining. So this is really, this has a lot of potential for us to get a lot of early game items and get us going. So I think it's time to start setting up the industry. Alrighty, we have an area cleared out over here right next to the launch pad, and this is where we're going to start up our crop empire and just get millions and millions of silver. Hopefully this works out. So, and what we're gonna do is, I've been looking at the crops, and it seems like carrots and potatoes are probably make the most sense, because you get on average 3 potatoes or 3 carrots per fully grown crop. So I think we're gonna go with potatoes. And what we can do with the potatoes and the trade station is, if we compact them down into a crate of potatoes, we can trade each crate of potatoes for 1 silver at the cost of 1,000 redstone flux. So I think we're gonna start off with 4 potato farms, and then we're gonna make a wood farm to provide the wood to the sterling dynamo, which will power the trade station. So to do 4 farms, I've got the book out here because we're going to need to write down some materials. So for 4 farms, I think each farm will have 4 harvesters. So that's 16 harvesters. And then we'll need, for the wood farm, I think we'll go with 4 saws, and then we'll need, each one's going to be a radial farm, so we need 5 of them technically, so 5 encased fans, and then we'll need the portable storage interfaces. Each one will need 2, so that's a total of 10 storage interfaces. Anything else? Mechanical bearings, 5 mechanical bearings, and I think that that's gonna do it for the most part. So, and then we're gonna have a series of belts that will feed all of the potatoes into a mechanical press that will press them down into the potato crates and then feed them into the trade station, and then we'll probably collect the silver in a chest or something like that. We're also going to need deployers. Let me get that down. We're going to need deployers for, and it didn't save, did it? It did not. That stinks. Well, anyway, I think I have an idea of what we're going to need, but we're going to need deployers for the wood farm as well to replant the saplings. So yeah, this is a lot of work that we're going to need to do, but it will be worth it because then we will have our bearings in the trade empire started up. So I'm going to start collecting up all of the resources we're going to need. We should have plenty of kinetic mechanisms to make all of the materials that we're going to need. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So we got the first of 4 farms in place. Let me show you guys what we're working with up here. It's just a regular old radial farm. We planted all the potatoes that we have, and we're trying to farm some more because we need about 80 potatoes per farm, and we don't really have enough to build another one. So the idea is we're going to build a second one on top of this one, and then 2 more just like this over there, and then in the center we're going to have our trade station with a mechanical press next to it, which will compact down all the potatoes into the crates of potatoes and then sell them for the silver. This will be really, really cool. I don't know how fast it's going to be to start off with. I think eventually we could look into maybe doing some like automated bone meal and automatically bone mealing the crops. Then it would probably be out of control. Yeah, so right now, like I said, I need to farm up some more potatoes to build the other 2 farms. One other quick thing to point out, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but my frames were actually getting destroyed. I was only getting like 23 frames a second for some reason, and I thought it was just because I was doing all kinds of automation over here, but I eventually figured out that the shader pack I'm using, complementary shaders, the shadows for some reason just wreck your frames, so I turned off the shadows, and now you can see in the top left we're getting steadily between 70 and 100 frames a second, so everything should be nice and smooth for you guys now. Sorry if it was a bit choppy before with the crappy FPS. Progress has been made. We now have all 4 potato farms up and running, and it actually cranks out potatoes pretty quickly. We've already got almost 2 stacks, and it's just been running for a couple minutes. So let me explain everything that's going on. We got the 4 potato farms, 2 over here and 2 over here, all feeding into a single chest where all the potatoes are gathering. So through this process, we can actually get the buddy beans and the Farmer's Delight buddy cards, which is pretty cool. So we can automatically generate some buddy cards and potentially work on getting some of those buddy tools and buddy armor. And then of course we also have a chance of getting poisonous potatoes. So over here we have a drawer set up, it's kind of tucked right in here, where the potatoes will get filtered out into, and then everything else will end up in this chest here. So if there's any buddy cards, buddy beans, poisonous potatoes, or whatever else comes out of this, it will end up in this chest. On the other side, coming out of the drawer, we're feeding those potatoes into a basin, which is back there. It's kind of hard to see because it's behind this belt. And then that is where the mechanical press will press the potatoes down into crates of potatoes. And then those are dumped out onto this depot and then fed into our trade station, which is right here. We've got our Sterling Dynamo on top of the trade station, and we've set up a belt and a buffer chest, which is where our wood is going to be fed into. So the last thing we have to do is create the wood farm, which we're going to be putting back here. Then once we do that, I think all we got to do is just set up a couple water wheels to power the belts and the mechanical press, and then that's it. So once all that's in place, it is our first step towards becoming a potato and crop and agricultural entrepreneur. So hopefully this probably won't be very quick, but it is passively generating silver. So once we get tons of silver, we can start using the trades a lot more and get all kinds of items that are kind of a pain in the neck to craft and or find. We could just use silver to trade for them. Now, of course, you have to pay silver up front to get the card to buy the specific item, but that's okay. So for example, if I wanted to get, let's say, blaze rods, just to get the import for blaze rods is 10 silver, and then I guess it says 20 silver. I think it's then 20 silver. I can actually look this up over here. I think it's 20 silver to then buy the blaze rod right here. Oh yeah, so 20 silver per blaze rod. So all in all, it's pretty cool. Silver is very useful in this mod pack. Let's finish this bad boy up. And there you have it, ladies and gents. We are now an entrepreneur. So let me show you guys the finished product. So we got the potatoes being harvested, collecting up in this chest over here, being fed into the basin, and then pressed down by the mechanical press. The crates of potatoes are then fed into the trade station and then sold for silver. And just from the last like 30 minutes or so, 45 minutes, we have almost 2 stacks of silver or 2 gold coins if we ended up trading them. This is super awesome. We got the wood farm going back here. It is working us wonders. We're actually filtering out all the extra saplings, apples, and sticks, and we're just trashing them for now. We don't really care about those. So the wood is collecting up here, it's feeding into the Sterling Dynamo, and it's actually way more wood than we need to actually feed this system. But the cool part is the way that we set this up is we can actually infinitely scale the potato production as high as we want, and we could make this thing way faster if we did that. But for now, I think we're going to leave it, and we'll just let it go and see how much silver we can accumulate. And then if we ever end up needing the silver or needing something that we could potentially pay for in the market, then we have the silver available. But that is all the time I have for this episode, ladies and gents. If you'd like to, please do not hesitate to hit that thumbs up. I'm super stoked that we are on our way to becoming an entrepreneur. Next episode is going to be extremely cool. I have plans to officially start building my base and possibly even finish it by the end of next episode. So be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when these episodes drop, and check out my other survival series videos that I have on the channel and tutorials. You guys don't want to miss those as well. I'll see you guys again. Take care. Thank you for joining me, and bye-bye.
Yeah, we are in the place to be. Yeah.